Hey guys, it's Ben the Coin Geek at Old Pueblo Coin, and today I have a fun video for you. Please consider like, sharing, and subscribing. What I want to talk to you today about is Mexican revolutionary currency, and this is just such a wild, deep, broad area of collecting, and I will try not to get too bogged down in the details of everything. For those of you who don't know, the Mexican revolution basically is like 1910 to 1920. So while everyone else is thinking about World War I in Europe, Mexico is going through absolute turmoil. And some of the things you're going to see here will remind you of other turmoil, right? So you're going to look at notes like this and think, was that just printed on a printer at home? Did somebody, what is going on here? How good is the detail? How how bad is the detail? Maybe that's a better question for you. And you'll see a lot of stuff that reminds you maybe of the Philippines guerrilla warfare stuff, guerrilla notes that are out of the Philippines during World War II. And you had things that were not as finely printed as we're used to. So a little bit more of something you'd see in like a newspaper that somebody just printed. So basically, they had Diaz was a dictator there for seven elections, and then all the unrest was. Out of that came. I already looked at one of these. Here we go, another one. So out of that came some figures that became very popular, like Pancho Villa and Zapata, and so there's a gentleman named Madero who was running against Diaz. Diaz imprisoned him, but then I guess he let him out. But it was a bloody war. I think they lost, people throw numbers around, but about 1 million people. So it was a pretty substantial loss of life in a bloody war for a long time. And so out of it, though, you have all these local scripts, very widely in overall design style and elements. Look at how beautiful this note is here. And then you go to a note like this. So a lot of these will be dated. So this is dated like 1915. A lot of these will be dated in that 1913, 14, 15 range, kind of at the, I don't want to say it was the peak of it, but it was the peak of when the currency was being printed. That much I know. Un peso. Woo, come on now. Who's going to say that word with me? Oh, why bother? Tlapaluhawa? Nope, I did it wrong. And it's not from Michigan, just so you know. Not from Michigan. Once again, you have printing processes that were very basic, and sometimes on things like lined paper. Isn't that wild? So this was a fancier one because it was multicolored, which is fancy, but also, they literally had to use lined paper for some of these. So here is from the state of Oaxaca, and they were printed. Some of them you can tell they had the printer's name on here, Julian Soto of Oaxaca was printing these in 1915. There's literally hundreds of types of these guys out there, and they're just all over the place. Here's a 2 peso note, Republica Mexicana, 1914, with the eagle and snake that you're so used to seeing on the coins. There's all kinds of wild coins from this time period too. If you ever go through your coin book, you can look and see that 1913, 1914 era, and just how crazy and wild it was. A lot of these banknotes you can find on eBay if you're looking and you just want to start dabbling with this stuff. You can find a lot of those banknotes, I don't know, in the $10 to $20 range, and then you can get into the more expensive stuff as it goes along. A lot of these are going to be $20 to $30 notes. Some are more, some I'm not as familiar with, and they'll take some research for sure. Pretty wild though, because here once again you've got kind of that symbols you're used to, and then the end looks like a comic book right? Like, did someone just write this from a comic book? I think I've seen cigarette packs that have the same font and writing. Cool imagery here. You know, you've got someone harvesting here. That's probably to make tequila. I'm going to go with that. It looks like an agave. Looks like a tall agave. I'm so glad I'm going to have people sitting around correcting me on these. But very, very cool stuff. Next up, here's another one, the same type from the Hanaquin. 50 and a 20. Here's the same area, different design. You can see someone else is working over here. And then, of course, most of these are printed. You know, they didn't have signed signatures on a lot of these. It was all printed stuff. 20 pesos. Once again, you've got the maker on the back. And then a lot of them actually have this guy's name on there. General Francisco Villa, also known as Pancho Villa. 10 pesos. But there's a lot to be learned about this, including stamps, counterstamps, reevaluation. Sometimes they have someone's got a little autograph on the back there. So for people who get deep in the weeds on this stuff, the weeds are deep. I mean, it is right after monsoon season out there. You do have, some places do have a little bit more ability to print. This was printed by the American Book and Printing Company of Mexico. Even that one's not too fancy. But you'll see other banknotes from the time period from different Mexican cities that are printed by the American Banknote Company. And so they look a lot more like a banknote that you'd expect to see from the US. This one here is kind of in between. It's a little bit nicer than some of the other stuff. It has like really fine vignettes, and yet the extra line work on the outside is like kind of goofy looking compared to you know, a nicer, newer note. Also, a lot of them have been revalued, so this has a 1 cent stamp on it. Wild stuff. And one of my favorite things, of course, is always vignettes. And here you're looking at a mining scene. So agriculture, mining, both very, very big in Mexico. Last but not least, and then you guys can get on with your day. Here's some more of these just little bitty script pieces. Some of them are real small. I would make one more comparison to, you know, we had in the 1930s some hard time scripts that came out throughout during the Depression, so we call them Depression era script. And some of that's the same concept. People locally were making, you know, pieces of currency, promissory notes that could trade locally and try to support an economy if you could get people to pay you back eventually in gold and silver. That was kind of the idea on that. But, you know, it's hard, man. It's hard when your country goes through stuff like that. And so for them, this revolution, I mean, you know, some of the people view the, you'll view some of their, you know, guys like Zapata and Pancho Villa the same way that we view like Paul Revere and Hercules Mulligan. You know, maybe not to the General George Washington level, but you know, it's a part of their culture and a part of their history. Hopefully, I didn't slaughter it too much, and hopefully, you saw some cool stuff that you haven't seen before. Thanks so much for watching, guys. I'm Ben the Coin Geek. You can subscribe by clicking on the owl button in the corner and watch more videos on the right side of the screen. Thanks.